Can you hear me okay if I speak to his? Better than the shield? Okay. Testing.
All right, it is now 12 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call to order board meeting of East Texas Advanced Academies. Let the record show that we do have a quorum today with myself, Mr. Sam Satterwhite, and Mr. Judson Murray. Please rise, and Sam's going to lead us in invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Bow with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for all your many blessings. Thank you for allowing us to live in a free country. Thank you for all that you continually do for us and your hand of protection that's over us. Lord, pray for our country, problems that we have, that we overcome those. Lord, we think back to 2 Chronicles 7:14 and pray that our country will humble ourselves and ask your goodness and guidance. Come back to some level of normalcy. Father, thank you for the military. We ask your blessings on them as they protect us. Thank you for law enforcement, first responders, and all those that put us in harm's way for our benefit. Thank you for our schools, all the children we have under our care. Lord, we ask for wisdom and guidance that make decisions that are in the best interests of those children. Moment for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America, to the republic,
God,
peaceful,
liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag,
allegiance to the Texas
One state,
under
God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satterwhite. Moving on to 2 Chief Executive Officers report. Dr. Wise, do you have a report for the board today?
Good afternoon. I first of all would like to give the board an update about our virtual learning, how we ended the year, and what are some of the plans or meetings that we have had in order to prepare for the upcoming school year. Starting with the fact that I did have the pleasure and opportunity to represent ETAA by speaking with an key team member of Senator John Corwin's office on last Tuesday. It was indeed an honor to have been asked as one of the, out of, I think it was 5 of us that are operating providers, and that Senator Corwin's office wanted, to get some feedback from us on some of the challenges we were facing, money that has been spent because of COVID-19. Senator Corwin is one of the key authors of the new CARES 4.0 bill, and his representative was Mr. Patrick Michael. And Mr. Michael gave us an update on his thoughts and the direction in which the senator was thinking in terms of the CARES bill and what he anticipated, how much funding that would be for public education. He also listened to our requests about our COVID journey, and as I stated before, monies that have been spent thus far in getting ready and previous COVID when the schools were shut down. And so this, again, was a great opportunity, and I felt very humbled by the fact that I was able to play an important role or had an important opportunity to influence this legislation. And in your packet, Empower Schools spearheaded this venture, and they did list ETAA on the letter, as you can see, that went to Senator John Corwin's office. I have met with the principal, each of the principal from our campuses, and we have conducted our one-on-one with the CEO annual goal-setting meetings in preparation for this 2021 school year. I was able to provide feedback and to ensure that the goals and plans that the principals have in place for the upcoming school year are in alignment with ETAA's vision, mission, and our performance goal. And speaking of principals, I am pleased to announce that we have a new principal at Ware Elementary, Mr. Josh Warsham, and I believe Mr. Warsham is here today, and some of you may know Mr. Warsham. Mr. Warsham started his career here in Longview at Forest Park Middle School, so he's very familiar with the demographics of students that we have at Ware Elementary. And he then moved into a science specialist position under ETAA. So he's well-versed and in the CCC model. He's been very instrumental in helping us raise our science scores in ETAA. So we were really saddened by the fact that we couldn't take the STAR test, because that's the big one. That one helps us to really reflect on how well we have done in terms of student outcomes and performance. And we were just saddened by that, because we knew that Mr. Warsham and other specialists and Ms. Burns and her team had done such an excellent job, and not to be able to cross the finish line, that hurt us and hurt the children as well. And we got and teachers, a lot of feedback from teachers about how saddened they were by that. But we've now moved forward and set our annual goals for the individual campuses. The principal did this last week. Also on last week, we had 2 full days of our Principals Academy in preparation for planning for the upcoming year. Day 1, we covered protocols and procedures. I shared with the principal my proposed reentry plan, and to get feedback from them, because then we're going to meet, we're scheduled to meet with the other partners, TCIS, LEAP, and LISD, I believe this Wednesday, and we're going to meet and share plans and come together and hopefully come out with an exemplar plan to present to Dr. Wilcox, and so he can present it to his board, and also I'll be able to present, each of the providers will be able to present those plans to their board. While we were discussing procedures and protocols on day 1, the principal, we covered topics such as Google Classroom, Dojo. Teachers will be receiving training on Google Classroom and Dojo on August the 7th. And under Google Classroom, the teachers are able to teach in real time, face-to-face, remotely with the students. Class Dojo, this is an educational technology communication app and website. And this Class Dojo connects the students and teachers and families through their communication features. They can upload photos and videos from the school day, messaging. You can do that in Class Dojo. And so we're trying to make this transition, even though we had to do it when we were first shut down under COVID-19. But now we're covering getting our plan together about how we're going to distribute our devices, how we want to get our hotspots for our students who don't have internet connectivity at home. And Dr. Stewart will talk a little bit more about this later, he has been in communications with T-Mobile about acquiring hotspots for all of our families. As I stated before, Ms. Burns and her team created virtual lesson plans. We did this when we had the first shutdown because we didn't know what it was going to look like coming back. And so we have 6 weeks of virtual lesson plans. We discussed protocols on on-site teaching and learning. We discuss what are we going to do with various teachers, what are you going to do with the special ed teachers, what about the instructional assistants, what are they going to be doing during this time, PE, band. Those 2 days, we went in and it was a full day, and we kind of needed a little more than that, I think, but we were able to accomplish a lot of things. What are we going to do about field trip? Well, we're going to do virtual field trips. We cover a whole gamut of things. Parent conferences, how are we going to conduct those? How kids are going to transition with those who say started with at virtual and now they want to transition to on-site. How is that going to look? Buses. We're waiting to get more direction from the district on buses, and I know they are getting that plan together. Car riders, dismissal. So we cover a lot during that time. Registration, believe it or not, jeans, that may not mean a lot to you as board members, but that means a lot to teachers. And just the overall dress code during this time for teachers and dress code for students. Our day 2, we focus on instruction, looking at what TEA calls the synchronous and the asynchronous methods. On-site is going to be what it is, on-site, regular traditional teaching with the adjustment made for COVID-19, social distancing, so forth and so on. We discuss on day 2 what are our now grade level meetings going to look like. PLCs, how will we conduct those? And the beginning of the year assessment that TEA has provided, and who's going to take those assessments. And what about your universal screeners? How do you get the beginning reading levels for your K through 3 students? So we did all of those things, and we're very happy with the plan that we're going to present to Dr. Wilcox and his team on Wednesday. And I'm looking forward to that. All of the partners in the district getting together and coming out with an exemplary plan for the districts. And are there any questions about virtual learning? And yes, sir.
Doing various campuses into one.
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking. We're in pretty good shape right now. Our Johnson McQueen, the board approving, we're waiting on their technology, and I believe it was delivered, you set up now, so she's good to go. And so we only have, I believe it's J.L. Everhart that we're in the process of getting them one-to-one. How many are they missing over at J.L. Everhart to make them one-to-one?
They're about 200 shy, but because of the amount of devices at all of the campuses, there is an allotment to make sure that if we needed to get the kids there what they needed, that they'd have.
So what we looked at is Forest Park, say, has 500 devices, and time of enrollment maybe only, say, 435 kids enrolled. We have 65 more devices, and then we'll look to share with J.L. Everhart. So we're going to be doing that as well, to make sure every child has a device. Lastly, I would like to just give you an update on the end of last school year up to when we left for spring break, discipline report, the statistics and the comparison to last year. And as we well know, that our number one cornerstone characteristic of our CCC model is safe and inclusive schools. And so we did, we pulled the data from 2018, discipline referrals from each of our campuses. And I'll highlight, most of them didn't increase as much as, say, for an example, Forest Park at 32 overall, and in 1920, it went up to 39, right? And that's for all students. But when you look at Forest Park and African-American students, they had 21, only 21 referrals, and you think about a middle school, wrap your mind around that. That's a very low number. In 1819, and then 1920, it went down to 17. But when you look at J.L. Everhart, for an example, in 2018-19, they had 42 total, and they went down to 12 under our CCC model. In 18-19, they had 25 African Americans with referrals, and J.L. Everhart went down to 8 African American as of the time we shut down. That's big, that's significant. Even more significant if you would go to Ware had 92 overall. And I read a report that the former principal, Ms. Duck, reported to the Chamber of Commerce, and a report that she had sent them, and I was reading over that report, that, well, they, I guess, took minutes when she presented, and I had a copy of their report, and she reported at that time they had 100 referrals and first semester, but here when we went into the system, there were 92, and they went from 92 to 19 behavior referrals. And in that report, she talked about the impact of of our CCC model and changing of the culture and the impact it had on student behavior as well as academics. So that's huge. Johnson McQueen, in some areas you'll see the opposite, but keep in mind, the referrals that you see in 1920 of the 82, they went from 71 to 82. I believe it was something like 70-something of those referrals were in the first semester alone at Johnston McQueen. They were just through the first semester, and they had already hit the mark for a whole year of referrals. And so we know all of that is going to get better as time goes on at Johnston McQueen. Any questions about the discipline referrals report? And that is the conclusion of my report. I'll be happy to entertain if you have any other questions. Thank you.
All right, moving on to consent agenda, A, B, C, and D.
Move we approve the consent agenda.
I'm going to have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Dr. Wilcox has the report when you.
Dr. Wilcox, LSD superintendent's update.
Thank you for the invitation today. Just a update on where we are with LISD and our relationship. We're looking forward to 2021 in only one aspect, and that's of our relationship moving forward with ETAA. I'm sure you're all aware of the only thing certain right now is the uncertainty of everything that's happening in Texas and also the country. We, along with ETAA and our other partners, are preparing to start school on August the 17th. We don't know if that's going to happen or not, and that's why Dr. Wise, as well as our other partners, are working on the virtual learning off-site. We hope that's not the case, but we're prepared to do that and provide the best opportunity we can for all of our children. Possibly the biggest change this year is going to be all of our campuses being operated by outside partners. And we have worked hard, the team has worked hard to try to get some consistency in the contracts and have some consistency as our students may move from one campus to the other. We have not a great deal, but we have a lot of mobility in the district with students moving from campus to campus during the school year. And we want to try to have as much consistency as we can for the students as well as their parents. And, that's why we'd recommended to you through Dr. Wise that we have some tweaks in the contract. But that's basically what the direction behind all of that is, to have a consistent application of what we're doing for all of our parents, as certainly as well as our students. And as uncertain as everything else is, we're trying to make that as consistent as possible. All our partners go online and register through the same process, no matter what campus, and we think that's going to be a good thing, and it should be business as usual for all the parents, except there's the one line that's in there is click here if you would like at-home instruction. So all of our partners have plans in place, and we think it's going to be a challenging but beneficial school year for all of our students. Can't think of anything else except other, to mention to you why we have tweaks in the contract, and that's to bring all three of our partners in the line as close as possible on sake of our parents and our students. Any question on anything? I'll be happy to. Well, on behalf of the LISD board, we're looking forward to another year in this relationship.
We'd like to thank you again for the opportunity to organization to be and further the education. Looking at the tweaks that have been made to the contract, our organization and all the partners, all the other partners, contracts definitely leave us answerable to the school board at LISD or to meeting the challenges that they expect us to cover.
The feeling from, if I may speak for the board, is that the winners in this are going to be all the students in ETAA, and that's why we're moving forward with all of this, to help to deliver instructions to our students. So we're looking forward to continuing the relationship with ETAA. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dr. Wise.
We're moving right into the action agenda. A LSD invoice, July 20.
So the invoice that you're looking at for July 2020, these are all anticipated costs. We knew that these would be coming. They're not above and beyond. They're just standard, normal operating procedures. What you'll see in the 6100s will be salaries, and it will be stipends and other payroll, extra duty pay for staff members who stay after to do extra things with students. It will also include the salary paid for the CCC coordinator for that portion of the school year, as well as for the home to school coordinator that were hired as well. So again, these costs were anticipated, but they're on behalf costs that LISD paid throughout the school year. And so this is just us paying those costs back through a form of a check to their business office. If you look at the 6200s, that's where we're going to see our campus copy machine rentals. That's just the normal cost you would expect. It's actually a very reasonable cost. It's a good contract when it comes to negotiating to actually have copy machines. So it's a really good contract. The next one is student negative balances. You'll see that that's the lowest one, of course, because students throughout the district have free lunch at the elementary level. You're only going to incur that cost at Forest Park for us. So this would be the students who ended the school year and their child nutrition balances were out of balance. And then finally, the miscellaneous cost. This one's filled with many things. Once again, these were all anticipated costs that we knew were coming and that we had budgeted for, but it was easier for the business office at LISD to just pay these on behalf costs. Things would be for each one of the UIL academics. Those have fees that are associated with it for the awards and the different individuals who work it. And so it's easier just to have those costs associated out, paid for, and then we pay them back. That would include things like athletics as well, athletic travel. So when games are held or there's anything dealing with athletics in that regard, it's also the same thing. It's taken care of through the athletics department, and those things are billed out in our name. And you'll also see in here, there are some other things that are instructional materials. There are some membership dues to different companies to make sure that we still have access to those same instructional materials that the kids have always had. And so again, it's just on behalf. We knew all of these were coming. None of them were surprises. It was just tallying them up to this point. Yes, sir.
Lift payment included in the 60.
No, sir. The lift payment's not included in that because that was actually taken out in actual salary for each one of the staff members. So that comes out as a rollover through the end. It's an at cost that we see in the total numbers. Because we don't pay each one of our staff's salary each month, LISD does, and then it comes back as a contracted service. For us, overall, it comes out of the contracted payment, out of that 70%. And so we get to see it. I know how much it is at this point and how much we're going to be charged for it, how much we were charged for it. Going into the budget for next year, we're also looking at saving that very, I want to say, it'll be very similar in the amount of funds that we expect to possibly be allocated. So we want to make sure that we budget for that accordingly. Yes, sir.
Move we approve.
I've got a motion and a second to approve the LSD invoice July 2020. Discussion? Favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Going on to B, consider action to authorize the chief executive officer to finalize a performance contract for advanced academies at our campus.
Move we approve.
Motion and a second to approve the chief executive officer to finalize performance contracts. Discussion? Favor say aye.
Aye.
The same sign. All right, C, the expenditures.
Right. Very similar, just to kind of coach you guys through what we're looking at on this one, is we do have the annual fees that are associated with being a part of the IB programming. And then you're also going to see fees attached to professional development that is required for us to be able to make sure that we are getting certified. IB, of course, it's an excellent instructional program. It's very, very good professional development. But what it requires is that, that we are meeting those technical needs of the program to be able to write in to secure certification. And so what you're seeing in front of you is just those costs associated. The yearly annual fees, those are the same every year based on the program, whether your middle years or your primary year program. And so they haven't sent us anything anticipating an increased cost in those either, but they're very stable and they've been the same for years. But it gets you access to the program and all of the curriculum and everything that's associated with it.
Move we approve.
I've got a motion and a second to approve the IB expenditures. Any discussion?
Dr. Wise, maybe you can address it. The IB training and the certification that a teacher undergoes. There a way you can put that in terms of like college hours? Of hours involved in that?
Not for our campuses, because we're the PYP and the MYP, middle school year program, primary year program, but I don't know about the
High school.
high school, if that's the case or not, which is called the diploma program, DP. And that may very well be, I'm not familiar with. Megan, do you know if that's the case? And our principals now training, speaking of training, our principals are going to attend the training on August the 10th and the 11th, the principals and the IB coordinator. And so that's mandatory. It's over 2 days so that we can get our either certification, because we already have 2 schools that are already certified. I'm sorry, recertification or certification with the other schools. And then the teachers will attend another training October over 2 days, I believe October 2nd and the 3rd. We're on track.
Any other discussion? Expenditure. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Business report.
So to kind of start going through this report, again, to start back with, we adopted a budget of $32,580,000. And what is still remaining within that budget through June 30th was a little over $6 million. That is what we anticipate, and speaking recently with Mr. Jones, each month as we've kind of gone through these processes, what we're seeing is that we're pretty spot on target in terms of finishing out the year with the balanced budget, maybe even in the positive in a lot of ways, with ADA and everything that was taken into account, campus enrollment staying level, and the amount of expenditures that we chose to go with. So we're looking again, as usual, pretty financially stable. We don't have really any issues coming up or accrued that we think are going to cause us to be in any way, shape, or form over the next month or two out of the budget. The numbers are pretty spot on. So even within the last numbers that we looked at together, within the last 2 weeks, it looked like the budget that we adopted is really spot on to what's going to come out as we settle up, or as the district settles up, and then we settle up with the district. Any questions or concerns? So as we kind of go through looking towards the next, what we'll see is we're going to have a very similar template, very similar layout as we roll forward next year. The only difference is because of the way and the nature that some of the contracts are looking financially for Addendum 10, we will be able to actually flood some of the information in a little sooner and get that information a lot more timely next year as we go through each one of these departments. So for example, you'll see like we don't have anything that's in here for food services, but we'll be able to see those kind of costs next year because of the way that the process is changing with everybody being a provider now. So that'll be new information that we'll be able to present moving forward in the next board meeting as we start looking at adopting a budget. Any other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Dr. Stewart. For executive session, the board will now convene in closed session as authorized in the Texas Governance Code, Chapter 5.1, for purposes permitted by Texas Governance Code 551, Section 74, personnel matters.